evening, viewers. Welcome to this session. We've got a lot of news to share with you. So, thanks for joining me. So, let's start with the first uh, story. Now, we're talking about none other than Madhu Kishwar. So, let me just take, yes, picture of her. Yeah. So, now a court in Varanasi has asked the police to submit a report on a complaint filed against academic and author Madhu Kishwar. The complaint alleges that she misused her verified ex-Twitter account to post misleading, false, provocative and defamatory content about Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The court has not yet taken a final view on the merits of the allegations. It is currently in a preliminary stage. By seeking a police report, the court is essentially verifying whether there is sufficient basis to proceed further, such as registering an FIR or continuing the case. She allegedly linked Narendra Modi to the Epstein list and suggested criminal links which the complainant says harmed the dignity of the Prime Minister's office. She made posts implying direct action by PM, which the complaint claims suggested that the judiciary was being influenced or biased. Madhu Kishwar, who shared various whispers about PM Modi's relations with women that led her to maintain distance from him. She wrote in an ex posted dated 25 March 2026, the names of women who were made MPs and ministers by Modi due to intimacy with him were being whispered loudly enough within Sanghi power networks right from the outset. She had further written that people close to Narendra Modi long before he became Prime Minister had shared stories about his 6 dalliances with women while he was Gujarat CM. Kishwar added that she later avoided events and functions where she might cross paths with him. So traumatized was I by the gory accounts that I actually sank into deep depression in 2014, which deeply impacted my health, she wrote. Now, a lot of things, are very strange about this woman. So let me just welcome all of you. Leena, always welcome. Nice to see you, as well as Vishali after a long time. And shame on the leftists. Absolutely. I don't know your name, so I can just say AB. And Leena says, such a shameless woman, how low will she stoop? So this is absolutely correct. Because you remember, Madhu Kishwar, she made a dramatic shift from being one of Narendra Modi's most vocal supporters, even authoring the pro-Modi book Modi Nama, to an aggressive critic. This is one of the most jarring turnarounds in Indian political commentary. To be frank, her anger in 2026 isn't just about policy. It has become deeply personal and frankly explosive. It seems as though there is a hidden hand behind all her attacks. Now let's go to the details about this woman. You remember the most common analysis by political observers is that Madhu Kishwar feels betrayed or ignored. She was a fierce defender of Modi during the days when he was the Gujarat CM and expected a significant institutional role or advisory position after 2014. When this did not materialize, her praise slowly curdled into resentment. Critics argue her current expose is simply the reaction of a former ally who was left out in the cold. In early 2026, Madhu escalated her rhetoric from political disagreement to direct character assassination. She has made a series of sensational and unverified claims, which I've just told you about. She speaks about, Modi with in a very cheap manner. She uses terms like predator and sexual corruption to describe him. Now, she recently tried to link him to the infamous Epstein link that led to the legal complaint in Varanasi. She also alleges that cabinet positions and election tickets are distributed based on personal favors rather than merit. Now, she often frames her anger as a defense of true Hindutva or Indian values, claiming that the current administration has become a personality cult that has compromised on core issues. She frequently collaborates with other disgruntled Figures like former CBI officials or sidelined BJP veterans to argue that the government is being blackmailed or is under the thumb of anti-national forces. As an academic, she claims to be an academic, which I really doubt. As an academic who once had significant credibility, her shift to sharing doctored videos and deep state conspiracy theories has alienated her from the mainstream. Her anger seems to be fueled more by her burn it all down mentality, since she is no longer part of the inner circle. She appears intent on dismantling the very image that she helped build. So this is really an irony, isn't it? And now, if people will ask, is she a whistleblower or is she a mischief maker? As far as I see her, I don't see her as a journalist at all. I see her as a gossip monger. The brutally frank view is that her transition from a scholarly biographer to a purveyor of internet conspiracies has damaged her own legacy more than the Prime Minister's. By making claims that are so extreme and often unsubstantiated, she has moved from the realm of political critic to fringe activist, which is why even the RSS and the broader BJP ecosystem now largely treat her with a deafening silence rather than an active debate. So you also notice that the mischief often cited by her critics usually falls into three categories. She has a documented history of sharing information on social media that is, that is later, sort of flagged or false or misleading by independent fact checkers. This includes doctored videos, misattributed quotes, and news that turns out to be fabricated. Please listen very carefully. This woman does not prove anything that she says. Founder of Manushi to a high decibel, a digital activist has been sharp. Her current commentary often uses highly charged language that critics argue is designed to incite or polarize rather than inform. What we have seen now, the police thing also on her, she has faced multiple FIRs and court cases in different states, such as Jammu and Kashmir and Uttar Pradesh, regarding her posts. This recurrent legal friction suggests a consistent habit of pushing the boundaries of speech to the point of litigation. Now, she also is known as a mischief maker. See, she is someone who's using her intellectual credentials to lend weight to misinformation, causing real-world tension and cluttering the public discourse with noise. If you remember very clearly, it started with Dr. Swamy, and then later, it was pushed on by. So when that also didn't work, when Dr. Swamy tried his best to pull down Modi, when that didn't work, people did not believe him. Then this lady was apparently sent to, make this sort of noise. Now, her supporters would argue that she's a fearless voice who's being targeted by lawfare, using law as a weapon for challenging established narratives. Now, regardless of one's political leanings, from a strictly journalistic and objective standpoint, the frank reality is that she's a high-risk commentator. Her tendency to post first and verify later has damaged her credibility in mainstream academic circles and made her a frequent subject of police inquiries. Whether one calls it mischief or activism, the result is the same: a consistent trail of controversy and legal scrutiny that makes her a lightning rod for conflict. So there's a lot of anger against this woman, especially by people who have seen that in Modi's second tenure, as a prime minister, he has not only proved himself as someone who fights for India and our progress, but also has become as a world leader who people respect and treat as one of the giants in politics. So let us not get sort of fooled by this woman's criticism. So welcome. So let's just take a few comments. A lot of comments coming in, so let me just take a few comments. So Lena says, maybe she wanted a ticket for Rajya Sabha and did not get a good party post. All are after position. So this would also be said about Dr. Swami. Dr. Swami also sounds very disgruntled, and both these people are, say, speaking the same language. Now we have Ramchandra, who says Subrahmanyam Swami, Ravan, or Madhu Kishwar, Shurpanaga, or Mamu. We're talking about Marxist, Muslim, Shukracharya. Okay, so he's just comparing them to different people from our Puranas. And Vishali says, Meena, I saw your picture with Modi ji. You know him personally too. Instead of doing selfless service to the country, why Madhu expects something in return? See, here also very well said, Vishali. Here also, let me be very, very frank. Modi ji has not done any favors for his own family. Even his mother was staying in the old house that he used to, see her living in, with his brothers and all. So he has not given any favors for his own family. So why would he want to do it for someone like Madhu Kishwar? So this is something absolutely ridiculous. He does not do any favors. He's just working, like a karma yogi for the country. Let me take a few more comments. Hindu philosophy. If you're not my caste, you're outcast. And Vaishali says, indeed, Ramchandra Joshi, she is Shurpanaga. I hope she also laughs in that way, isn't it, Mr. Ramchandran? So let's take a few more. Dhanashri says, this is not the first time this has happened to our Prime Minister Modi. Even Swami and Madhu Kishwar, both of them are stupid and nonsense. So this is what is the public opinion of everybody. You can't change it. There was a time when I admired Dr. Swami and I wanted to be a part of what he advocated. But the moment I saw that there was so much of anger against our own Prime Minister, then I realized our paths had to change. And that's how I, stopped following him. But now when I see him making ridiculous statements about Modi ji, I sometimes think that are they, going cuckoo or mentally, moving in another direction, So this is also something that, I find rather strange. Now, Leena says she's frustrated like Swami. They wanted a position in party. And maybe she's doing this for limelight. Who said? No, I think there's something much more serious here, Leena. I think there is someone behind her. I also think now she is being allegedly funded by, perhaps, people like Soros, to make such claims. Because knowing, if you just look at the body of work that, Modi ji has done, nobody is going to question it because he hasn't done anybody any favors. Okay, so it's very clear. So this is something that is not going to go down anybody's throat. Swami always claims that Modi ji's cabinet is surrounded by uneducated people. How ironic when whole world is praising Indian ministers. Vishali, when yes, I have met the Prime Minister a couple of times and I have always seen that in him, in his eyes, you can see his mission to make India great. And that's what he has done in these past two terms. So let's not even doubt what is, his intention. Man in Perth. Okay, Dhruva, I didn't get you what you said. So let me just take a few comments. They're coming very fast. Deep State wanted a puppet government and PM inside India. All of them were desperate to see PM not return. No one wanted a strong man in the center. Almost 100% right, Leena. And Misha says, I'd heard about Madhu Kishwar 3 years ago and her anti-Hindu style. See, the problem is that when you have Hindu names, people think that you are, following Sanatana Dharma, but these are the people who are cheating Hindus, So this is something that we have to understand. They are our true enemies. In a selfish agenda, she's hurting Indian interest is what Dhruva says. Absolutely. And Ramchandra says, there is not much to say about Modi ji. Everything is in the open. I would say, let the dogs bark. The caravan. Absolutely. Very well said. Swami is a very intelligent, cunning, sly fox, says Vishal. You are a fan of Modi, that is fine, but do not circulate wrong stories about Madhu ji. What are the wrong stories is what I would ask you, Sam. Everything that she has spoken about, she does not have proof. Now, there's an FIR. Let her prove it in court that she has got proof. Then we will take her seriously. So please do not accuse us of telling the truth. If you are scared to hear the truth, go to another channel and listen to them. Actually, Modi ji's brother is running. Yes, absolutely. So well said, Dhanashri. Thank you for that. I was about to remark about that, and you've already done it. Her mask has come out, worthless lady. Yes, Vishali. And Ramchandra said, she is just 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. Yes. Modi ji's brother is running a grocery shop. Even brother is very simple. Yes. And he has not promoted them and given them ministership. So let us not talk about his selfish interests. He's just a karma yogi, is what you should really think about our Prime Minister. Christians, Muslims all keep Hindus' names. Why? No law against these people. Us, Leena, absolutely. So these are the people who are our real enemies. Now let's move on to the next piece of news. We are talking about none other than Bhaijan. Okay, so now Bhaijan seems to be very, very scared of the fact that Dhurandhar has become such a super duper success. Okay, now I did go and watch the movie. After I took my time because I wanted, quite a theater. And when I did go there, I mean, we found the movie, which is 4 hours long, absolutely fantastic. And why are people scared? Because the truth is coming out about what Pakistan tried to do to India, and the people within India who helped, Pakistan to achieve their ends. So now we're talking about the man who wants to, who thinks that he's a superhero, but now he's a zero. So we're not talking about none other than Salman Khan. In light of the improved relations between India and China, Salman Khan's movie is coming, which is based on 2020 Galwan conflict called Mathrubhumi, and is reportedly undergoing major revisions as the team has been asked to remove mentions of China. Directed by Apurva Lakhia, it was originally titled Battle of Galwan. After a couple of delays, the makers had originally decided on a May 15th release date. However, it seems they'll have to push the release even further to accommodate the new changes brought in by the reshoots and script changes. As per a report in the media, the Ministry of Defense has reservations about the film's content, and that, as per the directive of the ministry, China may not be mentioned in the film. You also know during this time, Bhaijan was called by the government for a certain purpose, because they wanted to find out what he's shooting about. Being Salman Khan, nobody really trusts him. Where his affinities lie, whether it is in Pakistan or whether it's in India. Earlier, the film was inspired by a real event, but as per the request of the Ministry of Defense, Salman Khan and director Apurva reshot the film by adding a fictional spin to the story. Accordingly, he reshot nearly 40% of the film as he added some romantic scenes, backstory. The makers submitted the new cut hoping they would get the NOC, but the ministry still has apprehensions. Now, the source further explained one of the requests to Salman Khan is that China shouldn't be mentioned in the film. This was communicated to the makers in advance. The cut of Mathrubhumi, which was submitted earlier this month, has no mention of China. However, the report mentions that only the core members of the team would know how China is depicted in the film or shown without naming it. So, friends, we must understand that none of the Khans have really spoken very highly about India. Whenever we have seen their movies, we've always seen the fact that they, run to make stories for Pakistan, or they show bye-bye India and Pakistan as bye-bye, or they'll get a heroine as, being Pakistani and someone else being an Indian and trying to show all sorts of crap. So we've never really, sort of felt that Salman Khan ever did anything to benefit India. Even before Sushant Singh Rajput died, when the floods were there, he did not think whether it is for Kerala or any other state. He donated a lot of money. Can these people, or any of the Khans, talk about that? No, they won't, because they haven't done anything, is what I would say. Now, let's go to, this Galwan conflict. The idea itself of making this 2020 Galwan, about this 2020 Galwan conflict while removing mentions of China is a sort of, I would say, is a creative paradox. Galwan is defined specifically by the clash between the Indian Army and the PLA. Removing China from Galwan movie is like making a movie about the 1983 World Cup final and removing mentions of the West Indies. Now, one thing you must be very clear, and what I've heard is whispers is that after Dhurandhar, all the people, whether it is Battle of Galwan, which is now Mathrubhumi, or even it is Ramayana, the directors have got so scared of the impact of Dhurandhar that they are now changing their scenes, to make it impactful like Dhurandhar, because they now feel that any sort of stupid VFX is not going to help them in any manner. They have to reshoot. So in my back of my mind, I think Salman is, and even the director of Ramayana are, really trying to work on things to make it, at least somewhere on par with Dhurandhar. So I'll just take a few comments as well as I go. So have you heard about the corporate jihad in? And yes, absolutely, I have. And welcome, Shanmugam. These Khans game is over, says Vishali. Not her accusations, but her accusation waiting or timing of accusation surprises. It should be within a year and before major elections in the India heartland. She seems truly relapsed. Now, Khans are scared of living, inside India. Yes. Now, so if this is true, what they've said, then the film will likely pivot to a generic unnamed enemy or a terrorist trope, which often drains a war film of its historical weight and authenticity, and turning a gritty tribute into a safe commercial caricature. Now, we're talking about, the global box office. Now, big budget Indian films increasingly look at international markets. High profile anti-China sentiment in a film can lead to distribution roadblocks or diplomatic headaches that production houses might want to avoid during a sensitive diplomatic thaw. Now, projects involving recent military history usually requires a no objection certificate from the Ministry of Defense. If the script is being sanitized, it's a sign that the makers are prioritizing a smooth release over a historical grit. I feel they're more scared of Dhurandhar's success, and they are trying their best to, come somewhere, in the middle to seem, that they can also become a success. Now, if you look at Salman Khan's filmography, he has struggled to hit the mega hit status of his prime years. Retitling of this movie from Battle of Galwan to the generic Mathrubhumi is a classic marketing move to widen the appeal. It shifts the focus from a specific controversial event to broad brush patriotism, which is a much easier sell to a mass audience. Now, in Bollywood, major revisions and reshoots this late in the game are usually code for production trouble, problems or troubles. Changing the fundamental antagonist of the war movie isn't just a minor edit. It requires changing dialogue, like CGI, and the emotional stakes. This often leads to a Frankenstein's monster of a film, which means it will end up patchy, tonally inconsistent, and lacking a clear soul. So, which means actually Salman Khan is scared. If the makers are truly stripping the specific historical context out of the movie based on a real tragedy to satisfy currently diplomatic vibes, they seek alienating the very audience that wants to see Galwan. You end up with a sanitized action flick that feels dishonest to the soldiers involved. So it sounds like a project that started as a nationalistic blockbuster and is now being diluted by the reality of corporate interests and shifting political winds. So if it loses its specific enemy, it loses its reason for existing. So this is something very, very, interesting. So let me just take comments. Thank you, friends. I'm seeing so many comments. So let me just take them. Yeah. Just look at the expression of Salman uncle expression. He should be nominated for, if there is an Oscar. So that's Tanushree, for the worst acting expression, he should be nominated for that. And this is after so many, cleanups, So that's also happening. Yes. And Vishali says, Dhanashree, rather Salman Dadaji. These rich actors want to earn like Dhurandhar. These days are gone. Boycott all the Khans is what is happening everywhere. Welcome, KK. Always nice to see you. And Ramchandra says, TCS, Nasik, 9 Hindu girls, 1 male were forced to accept, convert to Islam. Yes, this is the latest news. And I'm glad that they've been arrested. Now, moving on to the next piece of news. Now, we're talking about Congress. Now, the image, we're talking about is the Pawan Khera has, who's been termed as a clown by none other than their party member, Manishankar Iyer, and he has built a reputation as a sharp tip of the spear for the Congress's party media strategy. And this latest legal episode in April 2026 is a textbook example of how his brand of politics operates. So when we are talking about where the, this was in April 10, 2026, where the Telangana High Court granted Khera a 1-week transit bail. This was triggered by an FIR filed by Assam police after Khera made explosive allegations that the wife of Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sarma Riniki holds multiple passports and undisclosed foreign assets. So now when critics call Khera a mischief maker, they are usually pointing to a specific high-risk political style. Now Khera often leans into a shock and awe press conferences. The Sharma family has dismissed his latest claims as AI-generated fabrications and doctored images. By the time the legal system or fact-checkers catch up, the political damage is often already done. Many remember his previous Gautam Das comment regarding the Prime Minister, which led to his dramatic deplaning and arrest at the Delhi airport in 2023. Critics see these not as slips of tongue, but as calculated attempts to provoke and stay in the headlines. Nothing different from Madhu Kishwar or Dr. Swami. Now, he is an expert at using the legal system for political theatre. In this current case, despite the FIR being in Assam and the remarks made in Delhi, he approached the Telangana High Court claiming residence in Hyderabad through his wife. The judge even noted his great personality in managing to get a hearing and relief within just 3 days. He is effectively using his platform to peddle fake news and doctored documents to destabilize political opponents, which justifies his mischief maker tag. He is a necessary agitator who forces legal scrutiny on powerful figures. However, the pattern of his career suggests he prioritizes the optics of the fight over the finality of the proof. By the time this case reaches a court in Assam, he will likely have moved on the next viral controversy. He doesn't just participate in news cycle, he actively disrupts it, often at the cost of personal legal jeopardy. Now, one thing you must understand is that they seem to be very, very jealous of Himanta Biswa Sarma's popularity. Wherever he goes, old women, young women, children, all of them want to hug him. And everybody reflects the kind of chief minister he is. And ironically, we must understand that he was a part of the Congress. Thank God he left Congress and came into BJP. Because of his rule, he has all the material like Yogi ji to become the prime minister. Because he is a true patriot. He doesn't care about people. I found it very amusing in one of the, recent videos. He was so irritated because he's working so much. And, I think Lalan Top, wanted to, ask him a question. So he got so irritated. Ye kya hai? Ye kya? Iska matlab kya hai, Lalan Top? So what is the meaning of Lalan Top? I mean, I just couldn't help laughing because Lalan Top thinks that he is the, greatest leftist journalist. But you understand that, see, these people don't care two hoots for you. They care for the country. They will work for the people. They work for the benefit of the country and its people. And, any opposition and any of these leftist media cannot understand that kind of zeal that these people have. So, yes. So with this, we understand that, Congress is trying their best, just like Madhu Kishwar and like Dr. Swami to attack Modi ji. And despite 1,000 arrows, the people of India stand with Modi ji and know the kind of work he is doing for them so selflessly. On this note, we end this session. Thank you. Jai Hind. and Jai Shri Ram.